But wasn't able to make the pass. Craig starting to get away actually a little bit. Oh no, Sexton's down.
No way.
He hit that bump.
Not even kidding.
There goes Tomac.
Not kidding at all. My jaw, I had to pick it up off the ground.
Yeah, well, did you hear Stewart's reaction? It wasn't even loud. He was just like, no way.
Yeah,
because he
was
in disbelief.
Yeah.
He had the same reaction I did. I didn't yell at that one like I yelled at the Hunter Shimoda situation. Yeah. I just went silent. I was like, oh, no.
It was perfect. It was perfect. Sexton was where he needed to be. Eli was where Sexton needed him to be. And he does that.
And watching it from that front angle, I replayed it like 6 times and I'm like, whoa, what caused that? It was early in the moto, so he couldn't have been tired yet. His upper body collapsed so quickly. I'm like, all right, was there a shadow? And did he hit a square edge that he wasn't expecting and it made him fold over the front? Or why would that have happened? Stewart at first on the broadcast said he looked over. Good guess, yeah. I suppose, but if you watch it over and over, I don't think he looked over.
No, it's not.
But Vital MX, shout out Vital MX, they got a clip from the back.
Yeah, perfect.
And
clip.
You showed me this clip yesterday. We'll watch it again now. This clip explains everything, and I'll tell you guys why. So we'll watch it right now. I think it plays in real time.
Oh, there's slow-mo too.
And then it goes slow-mo action. Okay. Cam, have you had time? Did you watch the clip of Jet at Salt Lake City yet?
No, sure haven't.
So
we'll put it on screen.
We'll put it on screen. That was the exact same cause as the Salt Lake City crash this year with Jet when he endoed himself a little bit and kind of Supermaned himself on the triple in the rhythm section. All of that is caused by outside foot placement. So I always tell my students, when you're done using the controls, you have to return your feet back to the balls of your feet, tight up against the frame. You have to be intentional with that, because if not, what happens is you could start with your feet in the correct spot, but very quickly, 5 seconds later, you can get your feet shifted to a position to where you're not applying pressure down on them, your toes out, so it can easily slip off the peg. Doesn't take much for the foot to just go haywire. When you watch that clip, Sexton probably, this is my guess on the entry, this is speculation because you can only see the exit. He probably entered the corner a little faster than what he wanted to, which made him drag the rear brake longer than he wanted to. And it probably put him in a rush to where he used the rear brake with his toe and then rotated his toe out. This is something that I get on Jet for often. You cannot do that. I don't care how much of a rush you're in. When you're done with the rear brake, you're supposed to slide your foot back to the balls of your feet on the foot peg so that it's in the correct spot. You can apply pressure down. It's out of harm's way. It's not going to slip off the foot peg. Chase's foot was on his arch, toe pointed out. And he, not only at that point are you not applying pressure down into the foot peg, which is an issue because with acceleration bumps like that, you need the weight in your feet, not in your butt. So if he were to stay in the seat longer out of the exit of that corner and there wasn't weight on his outside foot, 100% of that weight's in your butt. Your butt's just going to get shimmied off the back of the seat. All the weight's going to go in your arms. That's how you get arm pump. Instead, Chase went to go stand and his foot was so misplaced that it just slipped off the foot peg. And he didn't even know, he didn't know it was going to happen. It just slipped off. And the exact same thing happened to Jet on the triple into the rhythm section at Salt Lake. Jet went to go seat bounce, which when you seat bounce, naturally some of the weight is into your feet. And his foot was so misplaced that it just whoop, right off the edge of the foot peg. And once that happened to Chase, he is so meticulous with where his body position is, and he holds on so little with his arms that when his foot slipped like that, he immediately caved to the front.
Right.
Immediately. So Chase would watch that back, and that mistake too is probably going to drive him nuts because that's an easy thing to fix. It's a hard habit to form because it does require constant thought. Like every time you take a corner, you're supposed to readjust your feet. Every time you catch air, readjust your feet. So you can't just do it one time and then expect for it to be good the entire lap or entire race. You're probably readjusting your feet 40 to 50 times per lap. So if you're not good at it yet, it takes a lot of thought. For somebody like Chase has maybe the best footwork of anybody in motocross. His feet are normally really, really good. And that's all that was, outside foot placement mistake. So for those of you watching, how you would fix that is when you're done with the rear brake entering the corner, which you should be done with the rear brake right before the corner begins. You're just sliding that foot back right to the balls of your feet, which is right behind your toes. And then you're making sure that that foot is wedged all the way up against the frame as well. And the idea is when you sit, so with that being a left-hand turn, the angle of your foot is like this. So you're not only applying a ton of pressure down into that outside foot peg, which will help take weight off of your butt so you don't have to hold on with your arms, and it'll keep your body in the correct position. It's also putting the weight backwards on the foot peg so that as you accelerate out of the turn, especially on a big 450, you don't just get ripped off the back of the bike. So if you guys have an arm pump issue, or you feel like one of the places you struggle most is accelerating out of the turns, that outside foot placement is the most important thing. Yeah, and that's what caused it.
Yeah.
Simple.
I have
Simple.
nothing to add.
And it's cool. It's cool for us because you can break that down.
Right.
Into a simple technique fix.
Yep.
Simple. Yep. That's it.
But that, that also speaks to just motocross. I mean, this is why the stuff that you teach, the classes, the app, is so dang important, because the difference between you wadding yourself and having the best day of your life is those 2 inches of where your foot might be in a certain section. And it's like,
especially the faster you get.
Right.
And what's cool about it for you guys is that, if you're a Formula One fan, we are teaching exactly what Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo are doing. You know what I mean? There's no secret. For those guys, there might be. I don't know how car racing works. There probably is secrets. For motocross, there's not. Like the technique that they're using is exactly what I teach, and it's not rocket science. It's very, very basic. Right. What happens, and the reason why people don't do it the way that they should, is because most riders, pros included, are operating at a level that is higher than their comfort zone. So they're kind of they're not able to remain and stick to the technique because it's not ingrained enough in their mind yet to where when they're operating at 90, 100, 110%, everything starts going out the window, and then it goes haywire. So that's why it's so important to practice the technique regularly so that it becomes muscle memory. And then on race day especially, you have to know where your limit is. And if you go beyond that limit, things start getting sloppy. You have to stay at that limit. I always try to tell people that. If that means that you're getting 25th place, you're getting 25th place. If that means that you're winning, you're great, you're winning. But as soon as you let the ego take over and you try to go faster than what your technique will allow, it all falls apart. And not saying that that's what Chase was doing, because he wasn't. He's very, 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 he knows what he's doing. And he always seems to be riding within that limit. The mistakes that Chase makes are normally very subtle and almost can be put more on the mental side of things. I don't think I would consider that one of the mental slip-ups.
So here's this leads us great into crash number 2. The broadcast.
Okay, I haven't seen crash number 2, or I haven't watched it back yet. At least.
So this will be interesting to see your raw reaction then.
Okay.
James Stewart in the broadcast was like, "Oh, he looked to see where Tomac was. That's what caused it." That would be a mental slip up. That first crash, I do not think was a mental slip up. Like,
agreed.
It could be argued that it was because he didn't put his foot back, and you got to think about that. But that, I don't think it's not like a mental racing mistake. It's not like he was thinking about someone other than himself. I don't think.
Yeah, if anything, if you're on the mental to technical scale, crash number 1 weighs more on the end of technical than mental.
Absolutely.
Still mental involved 100%, but more on the end of technical. Okay, crash 2.
Now what happens on crash 2. This was about 30 seconds later.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was right after. All right, here we go.
Looks like gets in there, loses the front end. That's just focus right there. Just losing the front end. And
So James again is like, that's a lapse in focus.
Agreed. I would agree with that. Is there a technical reason for it? Yes. But the crashes that Chase has when he's standing up and just washes the front like that are the lapse in focus crashes. So just like the one that he had in recent memory, the one that he had at Budds Creek going into the left-hander where he kind of like sat at the wrong time, right?
Right.
That's kind of a mental lapse. Like he mechanically and technically, he knows when to sit. It just sometimes if you're having that mental lapse, you would just override or like, yeah, I would agree that with James, I'd love to see that a little closer so you could see, and I can tell you guys exactly what caused it. But a couple of things technically that could have been, it could have been weighting the inside peg a little bit too much, which will make the bike want to go out from under you. Could have been just a slight slide out of the front end and he wasn't stabilizing upper body enough because he was, then this is what it all boils down to. He was thinking too far ahead. Once that first crash happened and then he gets up, he immediately is thinking, okay, I am getting to the front now. I have to get this next guy. Where's Tomac? And he's not staying in the moment. And then you're riding too fast at that point to not be in the present moment. If you're thinking about the future, then you're going to crash. Like that's probably why he has those last lap situations in Supercross, because you're thinking about that checkered flag and, oh, I'm going to make 150 grand. This is cool. And next thing you know, whoop, you fall. When you ride a dirt bike, especially at the highest level, you have to be thinking about what you're doing right then and there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Now crash number 3. I agree with everything you just said. Crash number 3, you and I are going to have different opinions, I feel like.
Okay. I totally forget crash number 3.
Not that I'm qualified at all to have an opinion, period, but I have an opinion, and I think it'll be different from yours. So this was about 6 or 7 minutes later. 11 minutes? 11 minutes left in the race. This is his last crash. All right, here we go. I got 2 angles of this one.
if I'm Eli, number 21 is all I care about.
Oh, no!
And there he goes again.
Third crash from Sexton.
Okay, so with that one, I had a feeling that was going to, I remember this now. I had a feeling that was going to happen in that section. Chase went outside there maybe 1 or 2 other laps. And the other times that he went there, it didn't go well either. He was trying to charge in too hard for what that line would allow. It looked like a line that wasn't really worked in as well. It was pretty slippery.
We might have the same opinion here.
I just think it just looked a little slippery. So I don't think his front tire ever even ended up in that rut. Like the very lap before, or 2 laps before that, he totally botched that section. I think he was wrong in even trying to go there. He probably should have used that section as one to just be slightly patient for 2 more seconds, stay in that main inside line, and funnel back in. What's your opinion?
Well, that was very similar to my opinion. So I think crash number 2 was a mental mistake. Yeah, thinking too far ahead, and you weren't focused on what you were doing. That crash, I think he was just going too dang fast. So at this point in the race, he was 2 seconds faster a lap than everyone, Tomac included. He was riding so freaking fast. It didn't make any sense. It was like one of those rides. Like, honestly, that whole race for Sexton, that was probably the fastest he's gone all year. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally just going faster than everybody else. In Moto 1, Chase and Eli were matching each other, going 4 to 5 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field, which is unbelievable. Sexton at this point in the race, when that crash happened, was going 2-ish seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field, Tomac included. The dude was just going too fast, in my opinion. And like, he hit a dry spot, probably too much front brake, done. Like he was just going too fast.
There are parts of a track that there is a limit. There's a limit.
There's got to be.
There's a limit. So depending on if the rut's too shallow and your limit is on how much lean angle you can get before your tires scoot out of the rut, or if it's too little dry or a little slick or whatever it is, there is a limit to each section. Most people aren't riding the track to that limit, and I have students sometimes too, and I have to remind them, guys, there's limits for these sections. Like if your technique becomes good enough and you have that much confidence to where you're reaching the limit of what that section will allow you to go, you have to recognize that. You have to recognize, okay, if I'm at 10 degrees of lean angle, if I go to 12, then we're going to have some issues and that tire is going to scoot out of the rut and I'm going to fall. So again, watching him hit that section, the speed that he was trying to hit it the couple of laps before, I had that feeling in my stomach, like, doesn't look right. It just the bike didn't look settled. It looked sketchy. Where everywhere else I was watching him just like, holy crap. It looked incredibly fast, but it looked doable. But that section specifically, I was like, it just didn't look right.
It's just, I think about this all the time. When this whole season watching Chase and Eli go at it, that's been in my mind the most, is like, where is the limit? And how do you even define that? To watch like the evolution of Moto has been so fun. Like the last 2-3 years where you and I have been going to races and I've been more involved in watching the sport more than ever before. It's like, it's just been fascinating to watch that boundary be pushed, because it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of like fitness techniques that are getting better, just like health stuff getting better, the bike's getting so much better. Like, because you just said it, it's like your bike has to be set up for that speed or else it won't work, right? The track has to allow that speed or else it won't work. Like that side of riding is just fascinating to me.
And it's rare that it happens. I mean, really rare. There's guys that go extremely fast. Chase and Eli this year have gone extremely fast at a lot of races, but even then I watch and you can see room for improvement in each individual section. Slight room for improvement, but a little bit. It's rare that each section is being ridden completely to its limit. Yeah. So I'd say that's what that was. If you guys are enjoying these podcast clips and you want to watch full episodes, you can subscribe at club.themotoacademy.com.